This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on the South Today, an army of volunteers makes posies for Anzac Day. Arrowtown's Autumn Festival kicks off with a bang. And 2 residents of a care home celebrate being well past 100 years. Kia ora, good evening, I'm Melissa Barton. An army of volunteers has been busy making posies for Anzac Day. The posies will be laid on memorials to help young people get a sense of the history behind them.
A team of volunteers have been flat out in the lead up to Anzac Day, making posies to be laid at memorials this Sunday. Staff and the president of the Returned and Services Association were on hand, making sure the day went according to plan. Current RSA President Lox Kellis says laying posies on the day can give the young people who take part a sense of their history.
Well, I think it's an act of remembrance, it's something simple on a significant day. And I think it gives those young people an opportunity just to pause and reflect to what went beforehand and what they've got today, that they can live in a peaceful world.
As teams of volunteers beaver away behind him, Dunedin RSA Support Advisor Neil Shepherd says their work goes towards a uniquely Dunedin tradition.
Each service grave has a posy laid on Anzac morning, and this is, as I say, it's been going for about 50 or 60 years. So it's just something we do down here.
Dunedin RSA Administrator Sally Turner coordinates the volunteers to both collect on Poppy Day and also to come into the Royal Naval Reserve buildings and construct posies.
It's always a nice opportunity for people to catch up with someone they might have met last time or make some new contacts.
The tied together bunches of rosemary for remembrance are created by this group of volunteers, some of whom have taken part for many years. Dunedin's Anzac Day commemorations begin with the dawn service at the Cenotaph in the Queen's Gardens this Sunday. In Dunedin, the South Today.
A man who allegedly attacked the Dunedin City Council's Civic Centre in March can now be identified as 45-year-old Mark Cummins of Mosgiel. A family member says only hours before allegedly attacking the Civic Centre, Cummins had read the driver who killed his daughter had walked away with a clean record. 2 years ago, the teenage driver drove through a stop sign, killing his passenger, 15-year-old Jade Cummins, as well as the driver of another vehicle, 57-year-old Steve McNee. A photo in the Otago Daily Times showed the stop sign on the left side of the road was so obscured by foliage, the driver might not have seen it. Cummins has been behind bars since the incident, and his family continue to voice concerns about his psychological state. The 5-day Arrowtown Autumn Festival kicked off with crowds turning out for the opening events. The festival features all manner of entertainment, both indoors as well as outdoors, among the autumn-coloured trees.
Timed to coincide with the stunning autumnal colours on the surrounding hills, Arrowtown's 36th Autumn Festival has kicked off with a bang. A large crowd was entertained during the official opening, which included juggling and gymnastic performances from Christchurch's Mullet Man and his partner Mim. Arrowtown's Athenaeum Hall filled up for the annual Senior Citizens Afternoon Tea Party, with period music hall entertainment, complete with can-can dancers of all ages. About 130 Wakatipu residents attended this year's event and drank the hall dry within an hour, meaning festival volunteers had to run to the nearest liquor store to collect more bottles of sherry to help wet the whistles of the guests. The 5-day festival runs until Monday, with displays of vintage cars and outdoor activities for both young and old. In Arrowtown, the South Today.
The Van Leeuwen Dairy Group has gone into receivership. The large-scale dairy operation includes the world's largest robotic dairy barn. It was on the company's farms that Mycoplasma bovis was first detected in New Zealand in 2017. The same year, the couple owning the farm were rich listers valued at $60 million. Not many of us are lucky enough to receive a birthday card from the Queen on our 100th birthday. But two residents living in a Mosgiel care facility received theirs 3 or 4 years ago and are still going strong.
Elma McRobbie on the left and Vi Byers on the right are two residents at Birchley Residential Care Unit in Mosgiel being photographed for their upcoming 104th and 103rd birthdays respectively. Staff say they're impressed with the personalities of their residents.
Well, it is very entertaining in more ways that you could imagine. I like old people. Vi is actually very good. She's a very affectionate person. She likes cuddles. She likes kisses, as you would have imagined. She likes her cup of soup at tea time. Would have at least 2 or 3 of them. Got gorgeous family. Very supportive. Loves fish and chips on a Saturday. Spot on. Never missed a Saturday of fish and chips. And she just, talks really quite well with the residents and staff. They love her. Elma amazes me, like, entirely. I mean, the fact that she had 2 hip surgeries and hip replacement and managed to bounce back in a rest home level, you could just tell she's really doing something amazing in there somewhere. And the fact that 104, she's still emailing family members.
Elma McRobbie suggests her longevity may be due to an active childhood and always having had a youthful appearance.
I never sort of thought much about my age at all. In fact, I was never taken for my age. I've always been thought I was younger than I was.
But she says there isn't really a good explanation as to why she's done so well.
There's really no rhyme or reason. My heart's always been very good. And just looking after yourself, being sensible.
The pair are the 2 oldest residents at Birchley. In Mosgiel, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, and keeping with the subject of centenarians, a 100-year-old World War II veteran will attend Queenstown's Anzac Day dawn service this Sunday. So catch this and more after the break.
TV, our favourite babysitter. But it can be tough keeping up with what our tamariki are watching. Luckily, the Broadcasting Standards Authority has made some smart changes to the classification labels. Ooh! Plus changes to the time of day certain rated shows will air, and awesome new parental lock features, meaning your babysitter's job is safe. Find out more at safeviewing.co.nz.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Potatoes. This weekend only, John's taken up to 50% off his entire range of lounge furniture. There's massive savings store-wide. Plus, John carries stock this weekend at John's Furniture Warehouse, Stafford Street, and online at mymatejohn.co.nz.
Where did you get that furniture from Stafford Street. And my mate John.
Welcome back. A 100-year-old veteran of World War II will be attending Queenstown's Anzac Day dawn service on Sunday. Ray Dunn lives in Kaitaia these days, but still travels to his former hometown each year for the memorial service.
2 years ago, Ray Dunn, who was a wing commander with the Royal Australian Air Force during World War II, attended the Anzac Day service in Queenstown, and this year he's travelled down from his home in Kaitaia to do it again. He still remembers clearly how he ended up flying bombers in a long series of battles against the Japanese.
When the Japanese were within a few miles of Australia, General MacArthur, he sort of nearly got to the panic stage, and he contacted the American president and asked him to send a wing of heavy bombers to Australia. The Americans that were coming out, the crews had just been released from their schools and graduated into flying, and they couldn't locate, they had no idea of locating targets, and their navigation was very poor. So he said, there's only one thing to do, and that is we'll incorporate Australian crews. So they said, he said that these planes would be manned by Australian crews, but they would be part of the 3rd American Army. And we were under American control. We were the pathfinders, because we had to fly into the target, bomb it and set it on fire, so that the rest of the squadrons would be waiting out at sea, and they'd then be called in to finish the bombing up.
During the Battle of the Coral Sea in 1943, Dunn and his crew had to ditch their Liberator bomber in the water after being struck by enemy fire. They were finally rescued after 6 hours adrift in the sea.
Each man had a parachute and a one-man dinghy. So what we did was just 4 of us just tied the one-man dinghies together, and we didn't drift apart.
Dunn says he was actually supposed to fly Lancaster bombers over Europe with 9 of his Air Force classmates, until a last-minute change of orders.
I was on a draft to England with 9 others, all from my class, and we were on the ship at Port Melbourne and due to leave at 6 o'clock the next morning. At 10 o'clock the night before, a messenger came with a wire to me that I'd been taken off the draft, and that I was going to an OTU on Beaufort's. The others all went to England, or went on to Lancasters, but unfortunately none of them returned. Everyone was killed.
The Anzac Dawn service in Queenstown is set for 6:30 a.m. at the Memorial Gates. In Queenstown, the South Today.
Still to come on the South today, we have this week's edition of Rugby Chat, and we take a look at the weather heading into the weekend. So see you after the break.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Thanks for staying with us. In this edition of Rugby Chat, we talk with members of the Alhambra Union and Southern Rugby clubs.
Welcome to OD2 Rugby Chat for another week. I promised I'll be back, and we are. And we've now had two rounds of club rugby. So we want to talk about that today. This obviously brought to you by Garrador, my old mate Gerald Orr. We actually got some prizes to give away today, and we've got lots of stuff here from Garrador. But I'll talk to you about that later in the show. And today I've got with me John Tapalulu from AU, which I'll pronounce that wrong, but we're close enough. And I've got Jermaine Maker, who's the captain of Southern. So John, mate, we'll start with you. Now you haven't played much rugby this year so far because you've been away on Tongan duty. Talk me through that.
Yeah, just the New Zealand Sevens team needed a bit of few games of opposing teams, and obviously with the borders closed, the only viable one was us and Samoa, so they had about 6 or 7 odd players that are usually with the team based in Auckland and around NZ.
Yep.
So they made a tournament up in Wellington where we had to play 4 games against them, and then they played against each other prior to the Crusaders game, and yeah, that was just a good experience.
We were talking off here before that have Tonga got a good chance of making the Olympics this year?
Yeah, so with the Olympics going forward at the moment, a lot of teams are preparing, and where we stand at the moment is we're in the Olympic qualifying repitch tournament, which would be held in Monaco in June, so the teams that are in that would be the teams that have lost their regional tournaments around the world. So say us and Samoa lost to Australia in the Oceania tournament, and then so forth around Europe.
Jermaine, I'll come back to you. So what's happening at Southern? It looks like you've got a few new faces in your pack.
Yeah. We recruited a few new front rows after Big Heath hung up the boots. It was a big loss for the club.
Yeah, well, he's a big loss because you've still got Big Mike running around, but Hissa gone. But then again, he was 36, 37, was he?
Yeah, I think he had done his time
he'd done
and
his
served
dash.
the club well anyway.
So you picked up a few players?
Yeah, got a couple more front rows, pinched one from Zingers.
So what are you picking on poor old Zingaree for? Because haven't you flogged their number 8 as well? Hasn't Ineson come down?
Yeah, we've got Aaron as well, and he's been making a great impact for us as well. So got those two, and another prop from Christchurch has come down a hook or two.
But just before we finish today, look, we've got I've decided we've got all this gear here that's all been supplied by my old mate Gerald Orr from Garrador, and I've got umbrellas, I've got pens, I've got whatever those things are. They could be bottle openers. I've got drink bottles. I've got some. I might take this home to my bar there, in fact. But we've got quite a bit of stuff that we want to try and give, perhaps over the next few weeks. So all I want you to do, an email address is, which is paul.dwyer@alliedpress.com, will come up across the bottom of the screen. So it's the game between. What you have to do is email me by end of play tomorrow. So we'll give it a 5 p.m. cut-off tomorrow. So that'll be tomorrow, Friday night. So 5 p.m. So email in who wins the game between Southern and AU, and I want the score. So I need the score, the winner and the score. And whoever's closest, we'll send you out some of that Garrador product, and we'll be back again with you next week.
And you can watch the full interview online at odt.co.nz. And now recapping tonight's top stories on the South today. An army of volunteers makes posies for Anzac Day. Arrowtown's Autumn Festival has kicked off with a bang. And 2 residents of a care home are celebrating being well past 100 years. And now look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT. Welcome, Craig. What have you got?
Bumper paper leading into the holiday weekend, so there'll be plenty of reading there. You might remember last month we carried a story about Dunedin Hospital having to go into code black for the first time.
Yeah, and we were discussing how we'd never come across
we were 18
this.
patients, I think, sitting there in the morning waiting for beds. So we've received a copy of a confidential internal report that the hospital did into the events, and it suggests that a lot of the problems could have been avoided if the warning signs had acted on them a lot sooner. Basically, not enough patients were discharged in the night and the day before when they should have been, and they didn't notify senior staff about the need to ensure that these discharges occurred. So they were rushing around the following day trying to contact staff and didn't have a viable way of getting in touch with everyone either. So some of the operations should have also been cancelled, but they weren't. They waited to see what happened. So I guess in a nutshell, they didn't perhaps act as quickly as they could. Typical, difficult to criticise really when they are working in such a high pressure environment, but certainly some lessons to be learnt there down the track.
Yeah, I wouldn't envy anyone working in that department, like the ED or any of those departments in the hospital. They're
not when
under
you're
so
dealing
much
with
pressure.
people it's pretty full on. So Anzac Day, of course, on Sunday, and we've got some lovely lead-in stories in tomorrow's paper. James O'Connor, he was a World War I veteran, from Moa Flat. And he died in 1960, and it's believed a lot of his war memorabilia was destroyed in a house fire prior to that. So his granddaughter, she was desperately looking for a photo of him as a soldier, and she went onto a Facebook website searching for it. Didn't come up with a photo, but actually came across one of his war diaries, which another Invercargill man had purchased at a second-hand bookstore in the town. So she's been reunited with that. It wasn't a chap that liked to talk a lot about the war, but she's got some amazing insights into his time over there through this diary. So a really nice story and well worth a read.
That's lovely.
Yeah, it is. We've also got a piece in our weekend mix about the Boer War, which a lot of people don't know a lot about. We all know the First and Second World Wars, but the Boer War, so we're a bit more on that as well. And a big weekend on the sporting front, and not a rugby ball in sight. The Targa Nuggets are back on their home court in the National Basketball League. First time since 2014.
I know, it's really exciting.
It is cool, it's great. Playing the Wellington Saints at the Edgar Centre. Yeah, of course they won the league last year in a sort of a revamped version played out of Auckland, but it's the first time they're back at home and back in the comp, so it'd be nice to get out there and support them. I think some 8 or 9 home games, so it'd be good to get along and really get into it. And the Southern Steel netballers as well, they're looking to go 2 from 2. They had a surprise win first up against the Tactics. Everyone's been writing them off, but they managed to beat them. They're off to Auckland this week for the... I had it written down somewhere now, I can't find it, but that's okay. They're one of the Auckland sides. Now they were due to leave Invercargill this morning, but got fogged in, or out, if you like. So then they had to catch a sharing van through to Queenstown to fly out of there. Managed to get to Auckland in time, so that was good.
Well, they'll have quite a journey to tell. So good luck, everyone. And now it's time for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Beginning with the situation, westerly airflow will bring showers to the coast tomorrow, but winds will tilt more southwesterly on Sunday and become noticeably colder ahead of a chilly but fine week next week. Travelling to the northwest of the South Island. Get the umbrellas ready for showers in this region with 16 degrees for both Westport and Greymouth with a bit of wind. And across to the northeast of the island, it's mostly fine and sunny weather for Blenheim and Nelson, with a high of 19 degrees for Nelson and 20 degrees for Blenheim. Across to Canterbury, Kaikoura can expect partial cloud with 18 degrees, while both Christchurch and Ashburton are looking at showers and light winds. Christchurch sees a high of 18 degrees and Ashburton 17. Moving to the southern towns, moderate southwesterlies with a few showers and a high of 14 degrees for the Catlins and Balclutha. Lumsden and Gore are in for fresh westerlies, showers and 14 degrees. Moving to central, moderate westerlies and cloud for most in the central region. Wanaka and Queenstown aim for 15 degrees, Alexandra slightly higher on 16, while Tiana needs to plan for a wet and windy day with showers, fresh westerlies and 14 degrees. Further north, it's variable winds with a risk of showers along the coast for both Timaru and Oamaru. Timaru reaches 17 and Oamaru 16 degrees. Moving inland sees Twizel and Amarama with moderate westerlies, a bit of cloud and a high of 16 degrees. In Dunedin, becoming fine later tonight with southwesterlies dying out. Looking at an overnight low of 9. And it's fine tomorrow with sunny periods and some cloud. Cool temperatures with moderate southwesterlies in the morning and light to moderate northeasterlies in the afternoon. A high of 15 and a low of 8. And it's fine at first on Sunday with northerlies, then a period of colder southwesterlies kick in and maybe some brief showers around the middle of the day. Becoming fine later on. A high of 14 and a low of 7. And in Invercargill, showers tonight with westerlies and an overnight low of 8 degrees. Cloudy tomorrow and Sunday with periods of showers, but also see some dry periods too, slowly becoming colder with fresh gusty westerlies tomorrow and tending southwest on Sunday. Saturday sees a high of 14 and a low of 8, and Sunday's looking at a high of 13 and a low of 7. And that's all from the South Today team for this Friday, and in fact the week. For the latest news from the southern region, head to odt.co.nz and follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Have a great evening. Ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.